From UFOs to psychic powers and government conspiracies, history is riddled with unexplained events. You can turn back now or learn the stuff they don't want you to know.
Hi guys, this is Nick in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Wanted to give a call with a story of my own. A couple years ago, my wife and I moved into an apartment in downtown Chicago. It was a historic building, about 100 years old. Really a lot of history in the building, a really neat building. Had a normal, kind of life there. What happened one night was we went to bed with the bedroom door open. We woke up in the morning, the bedroom door was closed. And on the inside of the bedroom door was a large handprint in like a black ash, very large. It had to be 7 or 8 inches long. And when I touched it, the ash kind of fell to the ground, much like ash from a chimney or something like that. It was truly like a black ash. Immediately, we called the maintenance. There was on-site maintenance and an on-site kind of concierge. We called them and asked, had anyone been to our apartment? We had no idea if there was an emergency or something, or we completely missed something going on. They told us, no one had been in the apartment. There was nothing scheduled. No maintenance people had been in there. We told them what had happened. They were blown away by it. They sent maintenance up. Maintenance looked at this large handprint, said they didn't know what it was, and they left. We kind of left it alone. I would say about 2 months later, we woke up. We're getting ready in the morning, and on one of the hallways of our apartment, towards the front door, was truly like a child-sized handprint in this same black ash. And again, like when I touched it, it would kind of fall off the wall. We called maintenance right away again to find out what could possibly be an explanation for this. I truly thought at this point, maybe a maintenance person came up with their kid and their kid got dirty when they were doing some kind of work. I had no idea. You're kind of like reaching for answers at that point. They had no explanation. They told us to put a safety bar on the inside of the door that kind of goes under the door knob. They said no one had been in the building. In our apartment. We did that. Then what happened a couple months later, I would say 2 months later, we were on winter vacation in Florida. We got a call from our cat sitter who had gone over to the building and to feed our cat. And he said, have you guys been up here, or have you had any friends here that have come to your apartment? I said, no, why? He said, well, all of your kitchen cabinets are open and your lights are on, including your microwave and your refrigerator and freezer. And, obviously the cat can't do that. I had him send me pictures. My wife and I were out eating in Florida, and we were just terrified. We talked to the cat sitter. We couldn't figure out who had been in the apartment. Eventually we moved from that apartment and haven't had anything like that happen since. However, over the past year, I'd say I've seen 2 or 3 different friends and acquaintances of mine on social media who have posted very, very similar experiences with these kind of ashy handprints on the walls. One was some friends from high school that I haven't seen in years, and they posted on Instagram that they had moved into a new house. They were painting the walls, and after they painted the walls, these ashy handprints appeared. They posted pictures of these prints. They looked the exact same as what we experienced. Then we had another friend where the exact same thing happened, and they moved into an older home and had that happen. So I'm just curious if you've ever heard of anything like that happening. I've never seen anything like it. I still don't have an explanation for it. Can't figure it out. But I'm just so curious because I saw that other people I knew were having the same experience. So just curious if you've all had that experience, or if anyone you know has, or maybe anybody who listens has, because to this day, it really blows me away. I don't get what that could have been.
Wow. Oh, man.
Right?
Oh, Nick, thank you. Yes. First, as to paraphrase Michael Jackson, you are not alone. Right? That was Michael Jackson, right?
You are not.
Yeah, that was the one with
alone.
Lisa Marie in the video where they're like making out and stuff. It was a little weird.
Yeah. So to paraphrase Jackson, Nick, this is not a unique thing. In fact, you may be surprised by how many people have reported something similar. Now, it's not always a hand they see. And indeed, in some cases, someone might interpret one of these marks as looking like a hand, but it can get a little indistinct. As you noticed when you touched it, there definitely was something physical there because, your touch affected it. Let's say, I don't know, Matt, Noel, what do you think? You want to go through the boring stuff first, or do you want to?
Hell no! Come on, these are demons, y'all. These are definitely demons.
Let's get to the demon juice. Come on,
ashy handprints.
You've joined the Dark Brotherhood from Skyrim unintentionally. The good news, Nick, is of course something like this has happened to a lot of people, and they feel that they cannot explain it. At times, people are seeking a more spiritual solution, might do something like scrubbing the house or cleansing it by burning sage, may have a religious ceremony of some sort, or a spiritual ceremony, whether that's, a seance, or you have a priest or a holy figure come to bless or even exorcise the house.
Or just an Ash Wednesday.
Right. And the thing that might surprise you is that the world of just straight up interior repair and maintenance is also familiar with this. There's a term called ghosting. And in the world of building and painting, house painting, ghosting usually refers to these dark streaks or patches on walls or ceilings or even carpets. And for most people, they're unexplainable. Where did this come from? You know what I mean? Especially in an older building, people may have very valid concerns about contaminants, right? Is there lead paint? Is there asbestos and so on? Yeah, at least in the world of the construction, right? What a builder or painter sees when they're talking about ghosting, they're talking about these streaks, they're talking about something that's caused by the slow buildup of dust and sometimes mold and soot over time. But this, I posit, doesn't sound like exactly the same thing, because it sounds as though these handprints just appeared.
Yeah,
right?
and they're on the surface of the latest coat of paint, right? So the one in the hallway as well as the one that was on the door in the bedroom. Let me tell you guys just really quickly, I don't mean to jump in here with my own story, but here I go. So I had this experience not long ago, actually. I'm doing a lot of work on my home and a lot of work on the exterior of my house. And a lot of that has me digging in soil, digging in stuff that is it's mulch that's stained black. So I'm using several sets of gloves to do all this work. And just to give you an idea of my house, I've got an exterior room that has my laundry stuff in it, my washer and dryer. And also in that room, there are shelves where I keep my gloves and work equipment, right? So one night, very recently actually, which is why this struck me, Nick, I went out to go do my laundry, took my basket out there. Again, I have to leave my house, go outside, go into this other room. There is a huge black, ashy handprint, just a handprint on the wall. And I, for a moment,
how many fingers
it
did
had?
It have?
5 fingers. And I started to freak out a little bit. But then I thought back, oh, wait, I put mulch down a couple days ago. I must have come in this room and just touched the wall and didn't think about it. And it must have been all over my glove. And I just didn't see it when it happened. I hope. but I visually could see this, Nick, because I just had that experience.
But how did it hit you when you first experienced it? Obviously, that rational explanation took a second to seep in, but your initial thought, was it like hairs on the back of your neck stood up and you truly felt you were having a brush with something bizarre?
I think it was very similar to Nick's reaction. Who the hell was in my laundry room? Or in his case, like, who the hell was in my bedroom while I was sleeping and shut my door and left their handprint?
I'll tell the super quick version of it because I know I've told the story before, but I just have to mention it because it's so kind of in line with this. I was once sitting in a car with the girl that I dated for a long time when she was in college, and we were both in college, rather, and it was a really cold night, and a good friend of ours had just passed away, had died in a car accident, and she was waiting for me after class, and I walked up and sat in her car, and she was in tears, and she didn't say anything, and she just kind of blew on the inside of her windshield, and the signature of this girl, this friend of ours, was there, clear as day, on the inside of the windshield, and I just started, like, crying. It, like, hit me, like, oh my God, this is a paranormal experience. I am witnessing something from beyond, reaching out and trying to, give us a message of some kind. And then, the rational part of my brain set in, might have even taken a day, and realized that's exactly the kind of thing, teenage or early 20s girls do, is they write their names on, condensation on the inside of a window. I mean, hell, anybody does it. But, there's oils on your finger, and probably was just, it lingered there. You didn't see it unless you blew on it because of the condensation. But it was, it hit me in a very real way. And I was fully on board with this being a supernatural experience. But then I kind of explained it away, which is kind of sad. But, it doesn't diminish the power of that experience,
This is I think these two stories also show, Nick, that your experience, while it is distinct and unique, is not like there's nothing. Well, it's abnormal, right? But is it paranormal? Like, you're, first off, dude, you're not crazy. The majority of people in the U.S., according to a 2018 poll, do believe that they have had some kind of encounter with what they perceive as a ghost. And that number has actually risen over recent years. And as far back as like, what's another semi-recent one? 2015, that still counts as recent. Back in 2015, a Pew Research poll showed that only 18% of folks had thought they had seen a ghost, but 29% say they have felt in some inexplicable way in touch with someone who has passed beyond this mortal veil. And when you hear people tell these stories, like you can hear, Matt, Noel, you guys walk through this with critical thinking, and you're saying, okay, well, we have to do the job of seeing whether there is a mundane explanation. And sometimes there simply isn't one that can explain all the factors. The process of mold or soot slowly accreting over time, maybe due to an old AC vent or something like that, because he said it's a very old building. That can explain some stuff, but it can't explain everything. Otherwise, there wouldn't be so many people who believe that they have had some sort of encounter with something inexplicable. And what better time of the year to talk about these stories? Without going into detail, I've been in some situations, that defy explanation. And I think the majority of people will at some point in their lives. I'd be very surprised if there's anybody on their deathbed who says, I can explain it. Yeah, no, everything made sense. That's there was nothing weird happened to me for, 80 years or something. But I'd be interested to see what other people in the building think.
Yeah.
I'd be interested to learn the history of the building, because Chicago has a storied history of supposedly haunted locations.
Yeah, no, you're right. And we're talking about a 100-year-old building, so who knows? The other thing that I wanted to mention as a rational, like, everything's okay, this is just something that happens. I cleaned the top. Well, you guys can't see in here if you're watching the video, but I've got two like large, I don't know, just they're not closets, like standalone closets, like wardrobes that are right next to where I record. And I cleaned the top the other day. And again, it was a situation where the way I found out about it being so dirty is I touched the top of it and I got just dust caked on my hand, and I touched my wall when I went outside of my room, and I didn't notice that I had touched the wall until I came in, cleaned the thing, and then went back out. Not saying that's what happened, Nick, just saying that's the kind of thing that maybe we do throughout the day or happens every once in a while.
I wouldn't rule out the cat.
the cat just like, what did it do?
And listen, I also, I wouldn't rule out the supernatural. I mean, I'm not I have a hard time believing that there aren't things beyond the realm of our, understanding that exist. Like, I'm not a religious person. I would consider myself, I guess, an agnostic, but I have a really hard time believing that it's what you see is what you get, and that's all there is to it. I think that would be really boring, and B, based on, things like the Drake equation, the potential for the existence of, extraterrestrial life. I feel like that applies to all this stuff too. And I feel like, we exist like as energy and the idea of a soul. Like I've often done the thought experiment of like, what does it feel like to not exist? And I can't fathom that. I think many of us have probably done that. Therefore, I'd really, truly like to believe that souls go somewhere and do something. I don't know if they can like knock over vases or anything, but also, just to wrap this up on my end, if you haven't seen this show and you're looking for a kind of a lighthearted supernatural type experience, there's a lovely British show called Ghosts that is a comedy about like a haunted house. I'd never heard of it until a friend of mine posted about it on Facebook. So if anyone's looking for a little lighthearted supernatural stuff that's also very heartwarming and sort of asks some of these same questions that we're talking about, I would highly recommend checking that out.
I would also advance to that point, which is something I think we're pretty adamant about through the history of this show. To that point, is there not something fundamentally arrogant about assuming that all things can be explained by human beings with the current track record of civilization? Like time crystals. What?
They're not real. I had a discussion with a friend about this. There's no way that time crystals are real. We don't understand them. It's
how arrogant.
Right. So I mean, the story of civilization is inspiring, or the story of human civilization, I should say, is overall inspiring. But we have to remember, despite all of the innovations the species has made, the reality of the state of existence for humans is a lot like being a single guttery candle, right? Flickering in this immense, unknowable, vast, dark space. People don't know everything, and that's a tough thing to accept. You know, I think it's easy and it's comforting to believe that everything can be explained, and perhaps everything can. That doesn't mean people are the ones capable of reaching that explanation. I'd also love to see some pictures, Nick. If you want to email us, conspiracy@iheartradio.com. We definitely love to check them out. I mean, Matt, you're a pro at some digital forensics. I've always been impressed. So let's see what the hand looks like.
I'll send it over to Quantico, see what we can come up with, Nick. We'll figure it out. We talk about extraterrestrials a lot as a possibility when it comes to things like this. Y'all, you know this, guys. We can't sleep on those extra dimensional entities. Come on. If we're imagining a demon somehow coming up from someplace that's very warm, very, very warm, and has ash involved at things that are burning, what if they just flipped through that dimension somehow, opened a door that we can't see or taste or touch? Don't taste doors.
No. Well, it depends. Unless they've got Snosberry wallpaper or something.
You don't know if it's a Hansel and Gretel situation. That's the problem with food buildings. You got to know the provenance.